So I thought I would do a live video. It just came to my mind. My cognitive processes are working really better. Or, yeah, working a lot better than they have been. I'm about a full week into not taking depression medications anymore. My ear's swollen and from allergies, and that's not fun. So I'm gonna hold it actually so I can hear, so it doesn't vibrate within my skull. Actually, that helps me think a little bit more, or like be able to speak a little bit more clearly. I am really depressed. That's a thing. I can think a whole lot more clearly in multiple different ways. And I am having to kind of like take things slow right now. I've cried a couple times. I've fought with my pillows a couple times. And that's not normal. But it's also not being held back anymore. I'm not getting epiphanies anymore. So I'm actually thinking about stuff, like doing math, like looking at this, looking at that, and then having ideas rather than just staring at something and like ideas coming together, epiphanies. So I'm not having epiphanies anymore, and I am able to have my own creative moments as they should be. That is the really crazy that mental health medications make me mentally ill, but everything seems to be popping up back as it should, and that's really awesome. One of the things that I have been having problems with for years is I have not been dreaming. I think I've had maybe like two kind of dreams that where I didn't know like what was going on and stuff, that it wasn't directly related to like something I was thinking about right before I went to sleep. So I had my first dream, and instead of it being a neurological dream that's literally, or a narcolepsy hallucination that is literally a very empty, hollow, imaginative area of like something I was processing mentally right before I went to sleep. It's really weird and disturbing and also not restful. So I had dreams of stuff that like my mind is like imagining things and is supposed to do that. You're supposed to have dreams of stuff that you would never, that you haven't like put together. The epiphanies are supposed to be like in the dream, not necessarily like, of course you can't like physically react to epiphanies because you're sleeping, so but it is funny because, of course, as me being like dealing with depression right now, my personality in my dream. I was very lackluster. Not really. I had a dream where I was with a lot of people, and a lot of people I've known and met, and I was very detached. Luckily, right now, I don't really have any kind of my emotions. Like I currently have, a bit of like PTSD and stuff from everything. So, I'm very, detached, I guess, in a way. So, even though my dreams are the dream that my best example that I just had this past night, this I'm awake now. I was at the lake, and it was like a mountain lake, and it was like an art exhibit type thing. And it was also like kind of around, I think it was kind of around my birthday, like early fall, because it was right at the end of like it being warm. And I have very rich, elaborate dreams normally, and I haven't had any in many years. So I'm very glad to see that that whole thing there, that I'm not dying, that's come back. So that's great. It did make me sad when I had somebody come up in my dream and hug me and kiss me, and somebody that I know, and like show me a lot of affection and stuff randomly, and I was really detached, which is super hilarious, because I'm like, it's almost as if my dream was like, hey, why don't you talk about this, because you're gonna dream this in one way, but you've actually experienced this in the past couple years in like a more figurative way. But in my dream, like I was sitting like this, like at a table, and that's how the dream started. And I was kind of like, it was as if I just woke up or something, and I was talking to someone that was sitting there, and I think there was somebody else, and I didn't really know. I was looking over some like paperwork or something for somebody, and was explaining something to like what I thought about it and whatnot. And then somebody came up and was like, yeah, really glad to see you. I hope you're doing like well, not in these words or whatever, but gave me lots of kisses and hugs, and then I didn't see them again for the rest of the dream. I didn't cry or anything. There's not any kind of like depression like that going on. When I woke up, I was just kind of like, and the rest of the dream, like the emotions of it didn't go, it didn't get any more emotional, positive or negative. I kind of walked around this lake a little bit and talked to some people. I was trying to figure out at one point like what somebody was saying to me. Always trying to figure out like some points, like that's a thing. So normally in dreams where somebody's explaining something to me, and I'm just kind of like, what's going on? Oh. So that was interesting. I'm not having, I really shouldn't be doing any comparing, because the entire time that I've been on medication, no matter what it was in the last couple of years, I've known that, it was keeping me very vital uh, emotional processes. So I'm slowly like, it's kind of like being like, oh, I have 5 fingers again. So that's kind of emotional. I've had a little bit of um, emotional situations happen in the last 2 weeks outside of it probably helped me roll through this a little better because it's kept my mind busy on stuff. But I had somebody that I had to deal with that has a really severe mental illness and will not go get help. And they just disappeared. They reached out for like help and stuff. And then changed their mind. So apparently that's a thing I didn't, you don't know about something like that until it happens. So that is not my problem, but it is a huge groan. As we're all adults and stuff, and so it's one of those things like, in fact, I remember my first Thanksgiving out on my own. I was 18 years old, and I was staying at a friend's house, and there was a bunch of us that stayed the night. A whole huge group of us. I think I was the only female. I think my friend Ben was there, actually. Yeah, he was. I spent my first, he's on my friends list. It's Oliver. Anyways, he's the reason why I was staying with those people, or who I'd met those friends through. So we were going down Rutherford Road for some reason. I think we lived over right off Rutherford Road, and we were, I think, going towards downtown to like get on the interstate because we were going out to Greenwood for the day for Thanksgiving. We were going to stay with a friend and a friend's parents for the day. We were going to help them with some stuff. It's Thanksgiving. I like doing stuff like that on Thanksgiving. I like doing family stuff, like even like yard work and like, that kind of stuff for the day. I thought that was cool, like a cool idea. I was 18. I just turned 18 the month before. And we were going down Rutherford Road, and John was being stupid and was driving. And we were in this little car, and we had like it was teeny tiny, like a toe. And the back seat, I was sitting in the back seat, I remember, didn't have a back on it. Like, it was open into the trunk, and it was a hatchback trunk. Like, it was teeny tiny. But we had 3 people crammed up front, because it had, like, a little bench seat. We had 3 people in the back, and we had, I think Ben was in the trunk. But it was just like, so we were all going. I think Chris was sitting in the front seat. And I was sitting directly behind him. I think that was right before we started dating. Anyways, so John was being stupid and was like on the steering wheel, and going like along, and he lost control, and we spun a whole lot, like across the entire um like lanes of Rutherford, and that's like 4 lanes. So we ended up facing the other way. We didn't flip or anything like that. We didn't hit anything, but it was absolutely terrifying. I remember everybody bracing and spinning and being spun, and so we ended up, John just like, went forward and went a different way to Great Court. So I remember that really vividly. It was a long time ago. There's some things I can't remember. It's been like, it's funny, like the random things that, you can remember really clearly. I can remember all of any kind of wreck or situation or anything like that I've been in really clearly. But anyways, so I had a person who I was, trying to talk to and help them with some stuff. And pretty much like, they just are making up lies like constantly about like themselves and other people and stuff like and that is a big part of like them having a mental health episode, because like normal people can function cognitively and stuff without putting themselves in danger and everybody else. So the difference is kind of goes into me talking about dreams and how they work too, funny enough. But this situation, were very much like what happened with John playing around with his car, where he's like doing this with the steering wheel and stuff, and then spun out. Well, this person Friday decided that they just disappeared. They were over here at my house and had someone come get them, and after saying a whole bunch of stuff to the contrary, that they wanted help, and was doing this and wanted this and stuff. All the things that like that they were healthy, that outside of the mental health, that they wanted the mental illness like to come out of the episode and stuff like that. They wanted to do things, and this was their like calculation and stuff, and how I was like, that sounds sane and rational and all that, like so it was like, I'll help you with anything like that you can think of, to help get you back on your feet. That sounds like a great idea. I can't stand to see a friend suffer on that level. So I was like, I'll definitely do what I can, and then they disappeared. So but the thing is like we haven't like people like that don't talk to anybody like on the regular in any way, shape, or form. Like, the person is actually not only mentally ill, but a really shitty person. Like, they can't they have problems, social problems, like with other people and stuff, and like they have a lot of like imaginative situations, thinking that things like things that like or belief systems that's just not how reality works or people or life or anything like that. It's a very suspicious. And on top of a mental illness, they have like kind of a schizo type of personality issue. So I, as a person who have, neurological disorders, and a sister who is handicapped, understand how, things can get a little, sometimes you need support. You can get a little scared. You can get your belief system can get a little skewed after dealing with something like a mental illness for a while and not having kind of like, somebody who can talk about it, conceptualize it into you, like during conversation and connect the dots. So, I was planning on working with them on that, and being the person that, they could be like, look, and help them organize their mind, from day to day, like, and just as volunteering, like, I don't mind, being your support system and kind of backing you up and being there while you're getting on your feet. I'm also, as of a week, doing my own list of therapy practices to return to, to have my mind stay as healthy as possible while also my brain health and workings and stuff also return. So, because it's uncomfortable. I do not have all the serotonin flooding in my brain that I've had for, way over 6 months now. And, I, spaced out there for a second. I'm okay though. So, when they did that, it really pulled the rug out from underneath me, and it's been over 24 hours that they did that. They left like yesterday at like 1 o'clock in the morning. So they, are pretending to have multiple personalities. It's one of those things where, like, people rob people all the time and, like, turn around and look in their face like, they, are completely innocent. So it's, that is a thing. It's really funny because before they left, we were talking about something, and the person that I didn't mention that had to do with like the scenario we were talking about, broke my phone while I was sleeping. Probably about 6 years ago, there's this story, and I was talking about this group of people, and I went to sleep, and a person, like I said, that I didn't mention in the story, it was a different story, but same group of people. The person took something and stabbed the back of my phone. And so I didn't have a nice, like, smartphone for several years before about 2 years ago. While I was sick, I had to get, like, a really cheap phone. Actually, I got a phone on a plan with a friend, and that friend got all flaky, and then after that, I had to get, like, a really cheap, like, $100 phone for about a little over, about 2 or 3 years, and then the phone that I'm using is from 2023. I finally got a smartphone again, so 3 years ago. And that sucked. I really, like, that, cost me a lot of money. I was in this state of, like, having seizures and stuff Um, and that person in that group literally took I have no idea why. But yeah, they, picked up my phone while I was sleeping and stabbed the camera on the back. So, now this person is also like 13 years old at the time. Some children can do some really, really messed up stuff, and I, haven't forgotten it, and I will obviously, even though I have been invited many times back to the house, will not be, ever like going over to that house again. And this person kind of did something, it was really funny. Like I was saying, I was talking about these people, and I omitted that part that, they actually had broke my phone one point, and that's why I stopped talking to them. And sure enough, I woke up at 1 o'clock in the morning, and this person that I was talking to had dipped out and taken all their stuff that they had brought with them, too. Like, they're obviously not returning. They didn't leave me a note or didn't text me, like leave me a text or a message through Messenger or anything. They just disappeared. I still haven't heard from them. I don't expect to hear from them. They are definitely posting on their Facebook page right now, like nothing has happened. They are definitely really involved in the upstate art community as much as possible, and think that, people like, aren't gonna notice, like, that, they're a shitty person and stuff like that. So, but the thing is, after a while, stuff like that does come out into the open. I have been a part of the art community in the upstate, not as an artist, but as a supporter since 1999. So, you don't go around trying to, like, make money. And this is not a situation where, the person has much leeway because they're so mentally ill. So it's really very erratic. It's not a situation where they have, an art studio or anything to contribute to the art studio. But, like, when you get, in a situation where you don't have a lot of friends, or hell, you don't even want to spend your life alone for the rest of your life, the best, way to do that is not to treat, your people who also don't want to spend, like, your, what's the right word? Not partners, but, like, the other people equal to you in the community. You don't treat people like shit anywhere, but that's a really bad idea. So, that sucks. Noted, I'm not a person that sits around and talks shit about anybody, because I don't have it in me. I never have. I will sit and talk about stuff that I have experienced with people. And, some people are like, oh, that's talking shit. And I'm like, well, if you come to me and ask me about, if you're safe around someone, and I have been in this situation, where I was really safe or I wasn't really safe, I will tell you, like, degrees, of my experiences with stuff. So, there's not too many people, like, and generally the way math works and stuff is, like, you don't get to stick around in communities if you're a huge piece of shit for very long, because one of the things that people know about the art community is that, especially our local art community, is that you don't make a whole lot of money with it. Starving artists is definitely something, is something there. So it's hard work. It's really hard work being part of a smaller art community. As an artist, I'm saying, this is what I've seen from people that I know that are artists and stuff, whether they're friends or not. So, you know, to see someone come in and like as a buyer and as somebody like as a support system to people who are artists, it's like, okay, well, you know, it doesn't take, you know, you're an idiot if you see something like that and try, you know, obviously, so this person is not, I was trying to help this person wasn't helping me kind of thing. Like, they're not able to help anybody. So it's not like, you know, it's a big deal or like anything like that. It's just you know, sad. I hate to see anybody that's having like severe like mental illnesses and stuff not getting the help that they need. And you know, the person's like, I'm an addict. I'm like, you're not an addict. I mean, everybody's got some kind of addiction issues to an extent, but also, I mean, because that's a normal part of bodies and whatnot. But like when you're having problems with mental illness, those things get really confusing. You know, a lot of people, your addiction issues do come up untethered. I've seen that a lot for a lot of people that, you know, weren't first and foremost addicts and dealt with mental health illnesses. And, you know, you start to get things like kind of upside down and stuff. The body will tell you it needs more of something when actually it needs less of something. That kind of thing. And, you know, mental illness makes you not be able to reason out things emotionally as clearly. So, you know, it is nice if you're like, okay, I literally just need somebody to be like, to help guide me through this and support me, you know, while I work with the doctors and stuff. That makes complete sense. So I thought I'd share that and talk about that for a minute. That, you know, those kind of things like really do weigh on my heartstrings when I see people in the same community as me, and they're like, oh, wanting help and stuff, but they can't figure out how to get the help. So, and they also, you know, need the therapy, need someone to tell them, like, their whole reasoning scape is a little altered. So they can't verbalize, they can't actually get therapy for what's going on in their brain because they can't sit still long enough. And not due to drugs, but literally due to the mental illness, the type that looks like a drug addiction. It really sucks. You know, that is a situation where the person is not really safe to be around a whole lot when it gets to that level. And which is funny because I woke up and they weren't here. So I was like, you know, kind of like in my dream that I just had where I had someone give me a hug and a kiss, and I was like, that is really sweet. And it was from somebody that it was like, that it mattered, you know, because sometimes in life, like when you want to be close to somebody, you know, and some people are like, oh, I'll give you a hug. Oh, I'll like come over and hug you, and we can like, you know, have like a spend the night party and, you know, watch a movie together. And you just don't want to, you know, you're like, man, like as a single person, or even, you know, as a person that's gotten a partner, you know, you just kind of, you want to be close to someone, but at the same time, you just kind of flatline on feeling around like it just, you don't. There's been some times in life where the singleness aches a little bit more than it does at other times. So, but for some reason, apparently it's my birthday in Dreamland. But also was like, damn, when I woke up, because I haven't had any kind of dreams, like full, like what the actual definition of a dream is in a couple of years. They've all been hallucinations because I've been dealing with a narcolepsy. So, that is a really great thing. My brain is not completely broken in that aspect. I don't think that's how bodies work, but still, to go that long without having a dream, um, is kind of eerie. It's more than a little eerie. It's, constantly disturbing. So that is like emotionally, resting, even though it's not like an immediate, like, I'm not jumping for joy because I started having dreams. I'd be jumping for joy if I woke up and there was like a mysterious $1,000 in my bank account. So, um, I still have to go to work today. So, that's interesting. It's nice to be able to, have those thoughts and to think that through and stuff. I am not having, as one of the things that is different, from being on the medication or the antidepressant than from when I stopped it, is I am not having as strong emotions about things. And that leads to being able to mentally, conceptualize my surroundings a little bit more. I am more present. I've been getting up and doing stuff. Like, I got up, even just in parts. Like, one of the things that happens is, so the little bit of antidepressant I was taking made me mentally ill. So I didn't feel like I couldn't conceptualize, like, me doing. I was having problems a little bit with OCD. So instead of getting up and knowing that I wouldn't have the energy to complete the entire task and just to start on something, I couldn't start on something because I know I couldn't finish it right then. And so I didn't do a lot of stuff. And this past week, I got up and painted like a little bit of my bathroom, and sometime this week I'll paint a little bit more, if not finish it. And I'm emotionally okay with that. So I'm not having OCD symptoms. And I, while suffering from it, couldn't be like, oh, I'm having OCD right now, because it really pissed me off that I was having those symptoms. Like, it's not, um, you know, um, it's not fun to, like, have to deal with, like, mental health medications, because they are psych medicines, and, like, have to deal with, the list of side effects that I get that are extra. They are, so, I needed the medications. I had to use it to, help one part of my conceptualizing and brain and therapy, while defaulting another part of it. So I need to help with one thing, but the thing is, it comes from somewhere else, and that's not fun. Or, like, depresses another part of function in my brain. And now all those things seem to be balancing out, and that's really great. I cannot wait to get my house painted. It's I don't like it being dirty. I don't like this, like, the part of the house, but like things like my blinds and stuff, I have not been able to clean because I've not had the energy to sit there and, like, clean every single little blind. That's obviously smoke in my house, and it's hard to remove, to get down. It's kind of like, I've tried to get it off of there so I could take it and go, I've got all this cleaner, and it's really messy to do, like, standing, with it up there and, like, scrubbing it and stuff. So, but now that I can think a little bit more clearly, I can, rotate thoughts and facts in my mind and, figure it out a little bit more clearly. And I'm really good at, like, that's something that's, like, I do on purpose in my mind. So, like, I'm really good at working stuff out ahead of time, and, like, going into a project and doing it. And literally, you know, there might be 15 steps that I have to go down the list of. And I just, you know, wrote the steps so I know it, so I can just do it, and it just works. And it's not that big of a deal. You know, and then a project that might take a couple hours of working through a list of steps, like I just mentioned, you know, something that I haven't been able to do for several years. So that doesn't feel very good. You know, that hasn't felt very good during that. But I'm really glad to be on the other side of that. I'm glad to kind of be able to like look around and be like, oh, you know, I can take care of this. This is not going to be, you know, quickly, and take care of it and stuff, without having to work through a list of problems. You know, there's no reason why I shouldn't, like, there's no reason, like, it's not hard to put laundry in like a basket or something and put it in the, you know, washing machine and whatnot, and dryer and all that. But for some reason, you know, when you're mentally ill, like, your mind doesn't work quite the same. Things seem more complicated than they are because your, you know, cognition is struggling. So, I thought I'd talk about it for a minute because I need to work on that, or not work on it, but I need to kind of relax into it, and you know, can kind of return to having some things that I work on, you know, my own personal hobbies and stuff like that keep me entertained outside of, I'm not really a collector of in any form at like right now during my life. It doesn't really hold much interest for me, but you know, I do like to take pictures, and I like to take pictures of houses and spaces. I really like architecture. I don't take a whole lot of photography with architecture because it's been a while, but it makes me happy. It like is something that I like to study, architecture and landscaping and stuff. It is one of my, I don't like to work on it. I don't like to do it, but I like to study it. So it is not something in any shape or form that I'm good at or like want to go, you know, to, you know, to do for a living or stuff. And it's not something that is available for me to do for a living, whatnot. But, who knows, maybe I'll do it like as a retiree, you know, landscaping or something. So that's good to, you know, have hopes and dreams and stuff like that. And my mind is working clearly enough to where I easily slip into those kind of hobbies and stuff to help me. And I think architecture is something that is something I have been it's been a hobby of mine since I was a very little kid. When I first started drawing, I would draw houses and I would design houses, and I would do it over and over and over again. My favorite video game is a simulation game, and I've been playing it since it first came out in the late 90s, and every updated version since. And it is first and foremost a game of architecture and landscaping. And that kind of visual conceptualization and stuff, you know. So I spent a lot of time thinking about you know, I guess the basis of it is Tetris. Um, and it always makes me really happy when I have some time and I don't, you know, like during my day, like when I'm working and stuff like that, and driving around the towns, or even when I've been on vacation, I've been on long rides and stuff. You know, I like to stop and look at neat things and visit cool places, and all that is part of it that lights up the same like networks and that are part of me. So that's great. Something I am not really good at is organizing. I spend a lot of time organizing, and I'm about to spend a lot of time organizing. So my mind doesn't exactly like work real fast when it comes to like looking at the big picture and like what I'm working with, you know, like my space and stuff like that. I'm a good drawer, like I, you know, like to looking at my, you know, what I've got and being able to use all of my tools kind of thing to create whatever it is I'm creating. There's all kind of different aspects that are similar to that I'm actually really, you know, decent with. Like I said, making a list of something, you know, and simply following through on it. But for some reason, organizing, I will work through organizing out literally because I can't write a list about it. So I don't know why that's different for me, but it is. Probably because there's some struggling things of like I like having everything laid out in front of me and stuff, and so when I go to organize, I'm like, well, I don't want to leave my rooms too bare, you know. But at the same time, I'm like, you know, this stuff looks like crap just sitting here. So, you know, or socially, like it's just not, you know, conducive to like sharing a space with somebody. Like it's just clutter, you know. So yeah, it's really, really a great feeling to have access to like all of that, and how to smoothly work through my thoughts. Like I said, my ear is swollen, so I can't hear too good, and pulling it makes me be able to hear out the ear. Anyways, I can't wait to get back to work. I've got some bills that need to be paid pretty quickly. But I am not fully back in health. I'm still in the weeds part of, you know, restabilizing my serotonin levels, because it was just an SSR that I was on. So I'm having problems with like temperature, nothing severe, but just enough to like, you know, my allergies are affecting me right now. And so when your serotonin gets low or drops or shifts like that really suddenly, it will make you sick. And it makes you sensitive to any kind of irritants and stuff like that that's going on. So that sucks. But my stomach feels fine. My muscles feel a lot better. It did take through like Friday for all the soreness to like I still am a little sore, but nothing too crazy. So and it slept okay this past night. I didn't like sweat a whole bunch, although I did the night before in my sleep. I think it got too cold and it stressed my body out, made me sweat a whole bunch. I do appreciate people checking out my video. Makes me feel not as, like I matter a little bit, like what I have to say matters and stuff. To me, it just makes me not think about it as clearly, so I do appreciate it. I don't have a lot of socialness going on right now, and it's not affecting me as much as it was, in the past we'll say 6 weeks, couple months and stuff. It has been like kind of difficult, but it's something that I've been working out, and it's now that I'm not on the Lexapro, I feel much more stable about it and calm and normal, and less worried. I have been doing a bunch of crying in the last 48 hours. Like I said, punched some pillows and stuff. So that sucked, but it does cheer me up a little bit to think about, at least I can go ride around and like, remember spending time with people that I cared about and that cared about me before they passed. There's been a lot of me not doing, like, I have been really sick for a couple of years with the seizures and the narcolepsy, and it, I don't have anybody, nobody reached out, nobody gave a shit, so yeah, I've been very alone, and that's not something that I can just like not remember, so I don't know exactly where or how I'm gonna, my life is gonna change in the following months, but, that's definitely gotta change. I definitely, would like to date somebody or find somebody that would like to spend their life and time with me and stuff, so I guess that is the next part of my life now that my health has returned. So, and all that stuff is, my treatment is over. Treatments suck. I'm really glad that that's over. I really, really, like I said, would like to, have somebody to care about and, that cares about me also, and then I could share stuff, a friend, that I can share stuff with and stuff, and that, wants to share stuff with me, and somebody that I matter to, so, hopefully that'll, work out and stuff. Hopefully I can figure that out. You never know when. There isn't anybody, in my life now, so, I can't really be like, oh, it's gonna be like this or that, this many weeks or whatever. It's just kind of like, well, I hope that happens. I hope I can figure that out and work that out. I have been dealing with the sickness, alone for quite some time, so hopefully the positivity will roll in now that I can hold it, and be part of a relationship where I haven't been able to. So that's good. That's really great news. That feels awesome. Um, even though I don't feel all that great right now. So, yay. I feel not mentally ill anymore. So it's really great. I feel physically ill right now, but that is part of life probably. So that comes and goes. And I work through it. So let's see. Today is Sunday, May 3rd, and it is almost 6 o'clock or 6 a.m. The temperature is really great. I think it's going to be really great until about Wednesday. I think something changes about as the last I looked, is what it said. Of course, that may have changed by now. So I hope everybody has a good rest of their weekend.